He was the most special agent of his intelligence agency. But this time, the mission he was tasked with was not a simple mission. So, he teamed up with the best agents from other agencies. Everybody knew his chances of success were minimum, since the villain was popular but evil guy.
Police! No prison! I've got kids!
But on that day, he shocked everyone with a sudden change in plan. Welcome back to Paramount Recaps. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me.
To the Duchess! Table 12! 6 p.m. Save my wife!
The movie starts with a group of bad guys storming into a British government lab, treating the scientists like trash as they make off with some cutting-edge tech. A top dog in the British military, Khan, decides it's time to call in the big guns. So he taps a special agent named Nathan to hunt down the stolen gear and figure out what the heck is going on. Nathan starts talking about putting together a crew for the job. His first pick is a guy named Orson, but Khan isn't too sure about that. Orson's got a reputation for living the high life, always flying private and drinking fancy wine, and Khan doesn't think that's the kind of guy they need. But Nathan insists that Orson is the only one who can pull off a mission this tough. Orson is on vacation in Morocco when Nathan shows up at his hotel room. Although Orson isn't thrilled to see Nathan, their friendship makes it an easy reunion. Nathan updates Orson on the mission and introduces him to the rest of the team: Sarah, the hacker, and JJ, Orson's right-hand man. Nathan reassures Orson that JJ has the skills to handle anything that comes up. The team then heads to Madrid, with Sarah and JJ arriving ahead of Orson and Nathan. Orson still misses their old hacker, John, as Sarah's chatty nature isn't quite to his liking. Once in Madrid, the team jumps into action, spotting one of the individuals who stole the tech from the lab. Their plan is straightforward: retrieve the stolen tech and identify the buyer. Nathan brings in extra agents for backup, but things go wrong when they're mysteriously taken out. Even Sarah, who's monitoring the airport's cameras, doesn't see it coming. It turns out Mike, a rival mercenary and Orson's enemy, is also after the same package. Orson and JJ catch wind of Mike's plan just in time to stop his crew from snatching the package from an old man. They prevent the ambush, but Mike's team keeps chasing them. Meanwhile, Nathan tries to copy data from the hard drive in the suitcase, but it's encrypted, and time is running out. Things escalate when Mike's men block their path, and the old man tells Nathan to drop the hard drive off at a cafe. Nathan complies, leaving the suitcase at the cafe, where a random guy soon picks it up. Sarah discovers that the buyer of the package is a lawyer named Harris, who works for a shady arms dealer named Greg. Orson recognizes Greg's name and finds out that Greg is hosting a big charity event for the rich and famous in another city. Without telling Nathan, Orson and Sarah come up with a plan to get Greg's attention. They head to Los Angeles to approach Danny Francesco, a famous actor who happens to be Greg's favorite. There's a rumor that Greg once offered Danny $150 billion to attend his birthday party, but Danny declined. Orson and Sarah plan to convince Danny to help them, but he's not interested until Sarah digs up some dirt on him, including a secret affair with his sister-in-law and other issues involving his manager. Realizing he's trapped, Danny agrees to go along with their plan. The crew heads to France for Greg's charity event on a luxurious cruise ship. Sarah pretends to be Danny's girlfriend, and Orson acts as his manager. Greg is thrilled to see Danny and even gifts him a $20 billion necklace. Known for flirting with celebrities' girlfriends, Greg starts making moves on Sarah. Thinking she's with Danny, the team's plan is to hack into Greg's phone, but his assistant takes it to another room, complicating things. Greg wants to hang out more with Danny, forcing Sarah and Orson to improvise. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, JJ and Nathan hack into the ship's security systems, but one of Mike's guys shows up at the event, and Orson has to handle it, while Orson deals with Mike's men, offering them an expensive watch to back off. Sarah sneaks into the room with Greg's phone. She's caught by Harris, but she smoothly talks her way out of the situation. Mike, too full of himself to take the deal, ends up in a fight with Orson, who easily defeats him. Meanwhile, Danny chats with Greg and mentions that he's set to play a mysterious billionaire in his next movie. Greg, seeing a bit of himself in this character, invites Danny to his luxurious mansion so he can observe Greg's lifestyle to get into the role. He also asks Sarah to join them. During their visit, a group of Ukrainian mafia members led by a man named Alexander shows up. They're Greg's clients and big fans of Danny. While they're all taking photos together. Greg tries to make another move on Sarah, but Orson steps in and shuts it down. The team manages to hack into Greg and Alexander's communications and learns that Alexander and his crew were the ones who stole the tech from the lab. Greg was merely the middleman, and they still don't know who the buyer is. Nathan and Orson are also clueless about the specifics of the stolen tech, so Nathan goes undercover to break into Alexander's place and hack their computer. Inside, Orson uses knockout gas to put everyone to sleep. His mission is to hack into Alexander's laptop, which is locked in a safe, but he can't resist snatching some jewelry and cash from the place too. Just as he's about to leave, he runs into two of the mafia goons and Alexander, who somehow wasn't affected by the gas, leading to another showdown. The next morning, JJ finally cracks Greg's phone and listens in on a conversation between Greg and two men named Trent and Arnold, who are revealed to be the buyers of the stolen tech. However, even during the call, they don't disclose the nature of the technology, leaving everyone still in the dark. The next day's deal was super hush-hush, so nobody dared to talk about where it was going down over the phone. Because of this, Nathan split the team into two groups. The first group, consisting of Sarah and Danny, was supposed to act like they were on a chill vacation at Greg's fancy villa, all the while snooping around to dig up dirt on the high-tech gadget that was about to change hands. Sarah and Danny soon found themselves at Greg's ultra-luxurious villa, which screamed money. Greg was loaded, and it showed in his collection of rare, high-end cars. Danny was especially wowed by one of the cars that he was going to use in his next movie. While Danny and Greg were out cruising in these sweet rides, Sarah took the opportunity to hack into the villa's security cameras. She managed to slip into Greg's study unnoticed and began rifling through his computer files, but luck wasn't on her side. All she found were records of deals involving outdated weapons used by terrorists, nothing about the upcoming tech sale. Meanwhile, Orson and JJ were in Turkey, tailing Alexander, who seemed to be the middleman in this shady deal. It wasn't long before they spotted Greg's lawyer, Harris, in the same area. Orson decided to follow him, but things got tricky. Harris quickly figured out he was being tailed and tried to give Orson the slip. JJ managed to cut off Harris's communication, but Orson had a hard time keeping up, especially since Harris was zipping around on a motorcycle. Eventually, Harris pulled off a clever trick. He ditched his phone in a tourist's pocket and then pushed the tourist from a height, making Orson think that the falling tourist was Harris. Orson was fooled for a bit, but Harris tried the same move on him and ended up falling himself. Later that night, Nathan received crucial intel from a reliable source. He discovered that the tech Alexander had stolen was an advanced AI capable of hacking into any system on Earth, including national defense networks, and could even trigger a nuclear attack. Using the information they had gathered from Harris's phone, the team learned that the AI was set to be sold the next day. The following morning, some of Alexander's goons arrived at Harris's hotel to pick him up. Orson quickly disguised himself as Harris, while JJ discreetly placed a tracking device on the goon's car. They followed the thugs to a heavily secured location, with JJ keeping a watchful eye on Orson from afar. Armed with a sniper rifle, tensions rose when a representative from Alexander showed up with the stolen AI tech. To verify the eye's authenticity, they needed a 15-digit code known only to Greg. Orson called Greg to get the code, and with Sarah's tech skills, they intercepted the call and made Orson's voice sound exactly like Harris's. Greg, unaware that Harris was already dead, provided the code without suspicion. Just as Orson completed the deal, one of Greg's tech-savvy associates began to suspect something was off. Luckily, this was discovered only after Orson had wrapped up the transaction. Realizing they were in danger, Sarah and Danny tried to escape from Greg's villa, but Greg, sensing something was wrong, ordered his men to chase them. Meanwhile, Orson's cover was blown when one of Alexander's men recognized him from a previous encounter during the heist at Alexander's HQ. Fortunately, JJ was on point with his sniper rifle, providing cover for Orson. Orson tried to escape in a car loaded with the AI tech, but things quickly went south when helicopters filled with armed troops, led by Mike, swooped in and attacked. The car was destroyed, and Mike successfully thwarted Orson's escape plan. From his vantage point, JJ noticed something suspicious about Mike's crew and soon realized they were also targeting innocent people working for Alexander. Mike even ordered his men to take out Orson before leaving the scene, but JJ, ever the sharpshooter, took down Mike's men who were closing in on Orson. Meanwhile, Sarah and Danny were still trying to outrun Greg's men. They were low on weapons, but managed to force one of the enemy's vehicles off the road and into a ravine, buying themselves some time. Orson and JJ managed to catch up with Sarah by hijacking an enemy helicopter. When they arrived, they launched a missile, taking out one of Greg's men. Meanwhile, Nathan was furious that Mike had ruined their operation and tried to figure out which country Mike was working for, but came up empty. He began to suspect that Mike intended to keep the AI tech for himself. Nathan then devised a plan to get Greg on their side. Greg, after hearing the plan, revealed that Trent and Arnold were actually in cahoots with Mike to steal the AI. Their scheme was to use the AI to crash the global banking system, making all currencies worthless except for gold, which they had been hoarding to become insanely rich. Later that night, Greg and Danny rolled up to Trent and Arnold's base, where Mike and his crew were hanging out. Greg, always the smooth talker, invited everyone for a chat, keeping them distracted while Orson and JJ launched a surprise attack on Mike's forces. Despite his calm demeanor, Greg was seething with anger at Trent and Arnold for double-crossing him. To make his point, Greg blew up some nearby building. He then had Danny hand out a list of locations and names of Trent and Arnold's family members, threatening their lives unless they paid him the commission they owed within 5 minutes. After delivering the threats, Greg and Danny took off, leaving a very clear message behind. Orson then went after Mike. Trent, freaked out by the threats against his family, cut ties with Mike. This sparked a deadly fight, ending with Mike coming out on top. Orson, meanwhile, was working his way through the building, taking down Mike's guards one by one. As he reached the top, Mike tried to ambush him, but Sarah, who was keeping an eye on things with a drone, warned Orson just in time. In the end, they got their hands on the AI tech, and JJ and Sarah picked up Orson. Sarah told Orson that Nathan had taken off to Doha for an urgent mission. They all headed to Doha to hand over the AI tech to Nathan. While Nathan was pleased with the outcome, he immediately started talking about a new mission. But Orson and his crew weren't having it. They decided it was time to kick back and enjoy their vacation. Meanwhile, Danny turned his focus back to his new movie project, mimicking Greg's style.